Okay, we're learning for Leon Nishmas, my grandmother, Sima Bas Eliezer. I was never zochet to see her. She died before my father was even married. She died in 1950. 1950, but I'm named after her father. Okay, so we're up to the bottom of Yossi Yom Yontif. Yossi said the following. Yossi said that if a person goes out on Yontif, on Shabbos, carrying a lulav, because he's made a mistake, he's tabeh mitzvah, so he'd be potter from being a carbon chatas. Usually, a person's mechal Shabbos, right? So as a thing of Shabbos, so he'd be potter. Why? Because he's tar by be doing a mitzvah. So Amar Abaya, Amar Aleph, Lo Shanu, we did not learn that you're potter el shelo yatzu boy. He hasn't done the mitzvah of lulav yet. Aval yatzu boy chayev. But if he's yatza, he'd be chayiv. In other words, if he did the mitzvah already and then he walks out with the lulav, then you'd be chayiv. Going back from shul or okay. Fred the Gemara 1 second. Hamid agbahai nafik bay. When he lifted it up, l'chayri did the mitzvah. Guys, v'lakachtem. What's the mitzvah? The mitzvah is v'lakachtem, to take it. So as soon as he took it, l'chayri what? He's right to the mitzvah, and then he's going out with it. So how can you tell me that you be chayiv? The Heika Timsa, the case where Vipata doesn't exist. If a buyer, you're correct that even once he did the mitzvah, you're chayiv, then where do you have the case that you Vipata? As soon as he picked up the lulav, l'chayre, he should be yoytze the mitzvah, and consequently, when he walked out, he should be chayiv for yitzah. As I read the Gemara, two terutzim. Amar Abaya, Kisha Havchu. Says Abaya was speaking where he turned it over. Let's see Rashi and Rabbeinu Chananel. Says Rashi, what's it speaking about over here? It's speaking Kisha Havku. Hachi Kashle. Hechi Dami. So it says the Gemara. When he lifted it up, he took the top of the lulav and he placed it in a downward direction. And the eged is on top, right? The kashanta is on top. So Rashi's learning. You took it lulav, and you put it upside down. So therefore, when you walked out, you're not yotz in the mitzvah because you only yotz in the mitzvah when what? It's derech gedilasan. So you turned it upside down. So now, if you look at the Rabbeinu Chananel, he says very interesting. He says a more pashut shot. V'okmi abaya kisha hafach halulav b'smoil. The esrig biyamin. He doesn't hold that he physically turned over the lulav. He put them in different hands. We know that you're supposed to hold the lulav in your right hand because it has 3 mitzvahs, and the lulav and the esrig in your left hand. Hafach, he switched around the esrig and the lulav. So it's not speaking where he actually turned it over. He's speaking about where he switched it around. In fact, lefties have to hold it in the left hand. But in fact, guys, this is what we do. When we go ahead and take the esrig out of the box, we hold it upside down because, again, when you take it out, you yotz to the mitzvah. So in order to go ahead and not be yotz to the mitzvah before we make the bracha, that's what the esrig, we hold it upside down, and then we turn it over to make the bracha, we turn it over. That's the reason for that. Yes, Mendy, you want to say something?
You're not yotz to the mitzvah unless it's the two are that dash.
They are connected to it. They're speaking, they're connected to it. We speak about lulav. We're speaking about with the connection, the whole thing. Yeah, all three. Okay, so one teretz. Again, what's the kasha? Light Reb Yossi, that you're doing a mitzvah, right? You're only potter from the chi of chatas if you didn't do the mitzvah. But if you did the mitzvah already, you'd be chayiv. So, Fred the Gemara, as soon as you picked up the lulav before you walked out, you were yotz to the mitzvah, so you should be chayiv. And for the Gemara, you picked it up upside down, according to Rashi, or you picked it up in the wrong hand, according to Rabbeinu Chananel, and therefore what? You won't be yotz to the mitzvah yet. That would be the echad nimsa. Rava says a different teretz. You could say even when you didn't turn it over. What are we dealing with? He took it out in plate. In other words, he carried it out with not with his hand. He carried out yidei davar acher. He had it on some type of a utensil. Previously, Rava said, let's say your hand, something's wrapped around your hand, and you take the lulav, it's considered a good lakicha. You would be yotz to the mitzvah. So what does Rabbi gain over here? Lakicha yidei davar acher, taking through something else. What you are yotza. Hanimila theref kavod. That's only you have a nice piece of velvet around your hand that's derech covered, then you'll be yotzal yedei davar acher. Aval derech bezoyin, if you're going to go ahead and put it on a plate and take that lekicha yedei davar acher, you would not be yotzal. That's the heikatimsa according to Rava. How it's possible to be oisik b'mitzvah, not be yotzal the mitzvah yet, and be pataf machatas for hoitzah. Because either according to Abaye it was upside down or right left. According to Rava, you took it out derech bezoyin, and therefore what was the kicha de davracha. Amrav Huna, I'm a hoy Rabbi Yossi. Oilis ha'oif shenimtza beinav bekapayim. Okay, a little background over here in order, little kachim. There are two types of birds you can bring as a carbon. There's an oilis ha'oif and there's a chatas ha'oif. We're familiar usually with the yoledes brings them. There are certain a zav can bring them depending upon his financial status. Okay, they're brought in two different spots. The oilis ha'oif is brought on the top, going up to the Zbeach. It's brought in the southeast. The chatas ha'oif is brought below in the southwest, below the chutas sikra. That different spaces. If business was very busy in the southeast, they would move it over to the southwest. So nimsa, you have over here a bunch of birds. The Rashi says you did malika on the birds. Malika is where the kohen would take his finger and pierce the back and sever the trachea and the esophagus, and they're floating around. A man mistakenly goes ahead and takes an oilas ha'oif instead of a chatas ha'oif and eats it. The halacha is that l'chayra he's moel behegdish. Mila it's an oila, you're moel behegdish, not let eat a carbon oil, you burn the whole thing. However, but he was being over here, he was being oisik b'mitzvah. He wanted to eat a chatas. So Rabbi, you be pata. In other words, just like in our mitzvah, in our Mishnah, you're pata with the lulav when you be on Shabbos. The chilul Shabbos, because you're being oisik in the mitzvah lulav. Who are then you be pata from a carbon ashram elois because you were oisik in the mitzvah of eating what? A desire to eat what? An oilas life. The chatas life. That's Gemara. So nachama. Rav Huna Amar Rav Huna I'm Rav Yossi. Rav Yossi would say oilas ha'oif shenimtza bein agapayim, an oilas life that are found Rashi learns between other birds. Ukasava chatas ha'oifi, and you think it's a chatas ha'oif for achla, and you ate it. Potter, you'll be potter. Why? My kamash balon the toyer b'dvar mitzvah potter, right? Hainu hach l'chayr is the exact same case as lulav. Just like lulav, you potter for Shabbos, so to over here you potter from a carbon ashram for eating a noilas ha'oif. After going to Madu Tema, hasam hu the toyer b'dvar mitzvah potter, hayred the ovid mitzvah by sukkah. You know what? By lulav. You were oisig by mitzvah, but you're going to do the mitzvah. Aval hacha by kachim the torah by mitzvah v'lo yavid mitzvah because you never ate the chatas ha'oif. Guys, over here when you took it out, ostensibly, what are you going to do? You're going to be yaitz to the mitzvah with this lulav. So you're torah b'davar mitzvah and you're going to do the mitzvah. Mashen came by the oilas ha'oif. You ate the oilas ha'oif. There's no mitzvah. The next action is a separate action. Eimaloi kamash malon. Rabbi Yossi, a big chiddush. Guess what? What's the chiddush? Torah by mitzvah. Even if you don't do the mitzvah, you would be yaitza. Torah by mitzvah. Even if you don't do the mitzvah, what you would be yaitza. Meisavei Rabbi Yossi Omer hashoichet es atamid she'inem bevukar kel chasai. The halacha is, fellas, that they were going to have the lishkas talayim. If you remember, if you picture the Beis Hamikdash, remember the picture? Picture it. The right side. Remember, you had the Beis Hamoikid and you have 4 little chambers. You remember that big one with the 4? You make believe you remember. The big one with the 4, and then there's one of them is the lishkas hatlayim. One of them is the lishka where the sheep were kept, and they kept sheep there, and they have to be checked, fellas. If you shecht one of them without the carbon tummy without checking, even if you check afterwards and it's good, it's you didn't do the job. It's awesome. We looked at this Masechet Pesachim Daf Tzadik Vav. As Taisus says over here, I don't remember it. It says it from here from Taisus. I don't want to be of Kenevis Das. So yeah, Taisus says that you would be not yoitze, even if you find out it's unblemished afterwards. It has to be mevukar. It has to be what? Right? We learn after we're going to sushtel to Korban Pesach. Okay, so now says the Gemara. Rabbi Yossi, my shoichet es atamid sheinu mevukar kil chasai. You shech Korban tamid that's not mevukar. That's not what? It's not boydek. It's not boydek kil chasai. The Shabbos chayiv chatas. V'tzarich tamid acher. So guys, were you oisik b'mitzvah? You oisik b'mitzvah, right? So why you chayiv should be pata? Why you chayiv should be pata? In other words, we're asking on the Yisrael Rabbi Yossi. Just like if you eat a either sa'oif when you want to be the chatas sa'oif, just like you shechted a tamid that you thought was okay, turned out not to be okay. Why by Tamid are you chayiv chatas? If you're potter for eating an oilus oif, why by coming Tamid when you thought you're doing a mitzvah? Why are you chayiv? That's the kasha. And for the Gemara, I'm alei barmine. They said to him, no, listen, leave that alone. Why? That he the barmine that he the ha'it maralo. We learned this. Amar Shmuel bar Chatoy, Amar Rav Huna Saba, Amar Rav Yitzchak bar Ashian, Amar Rav Huna, Amar Rav Kigoin she'aviyoi milishka she'enim mevukarim. He was negligent lechatchila. He never, in other words, it's not pshat that he thought he was doing a mitzvah, like he thought he was eating a chatas ha'oif. He thought lechatchila, he brought it from the wrong spot. So therefore, there was no mitzvah. Since it's no mitzvah, it's not a kasher Rabbi Yossi, it's not Torah b'devar mitzvah. And again, it's your site of Rabbi Yossi is important. Your site Torah mitzvah, it's pata, it's pata. Even from Chil Shabbos.
Very fast.
Yeah. Now, mikabeles isha miyad bina umiyad baila umachsirasoi l'mayim b'Shabbos. Now, as we all know, that again for 7 days you want to keep your daled minim fresh. By and large, lulav is not too bad. Das is not too bad. Aravis is a disaster, right? Aravis, as soon as they hit the air, they're finished. And like if you keep them like more than 2 days, you always admire like yourself, like you did it right. So what do? You come home and you wrap them. Every year, everyone's got a new idea that tells you something else that's going to be different, right? But wet towel. So you do the wet towel, it gets moldy. Yeah, everything. We've done all that. We've been there, done that. We've all done that. Okay, but by the way, what I do is I take it out. I put a little wet paper towel only on the tips, not on the whole thing, only on the tips, and it seems to work. In the fridge, in the plastic bag in the fridge, and it lasts like 2 days, and then I buy new ones. Anyway, so listen. So they would go home, and they would on Shabbos. You'd be able to take this and return it and put it in water. You're able to put this in water on Shabbos. You can't change the water. You can refresh, add water, but you can put it in existing water. So it's halacha. So the kabbalah isha biyad bina, a woman who's not mechuyev in it, can accept the hands from a son, miyad bailo, machzirasel l'mayim b'Shabbos, and return it to the water on Shabbos. Rav Yudoimer, b'Shabbos machzirin, b'Shabbos you return it, b'yontif musifin, yontif, on yontif itself you're able to go ahead and be moisif, u'b'moyed machlifin, and moyed you can even change the water. On yontif we don't change the tircha to change the water, and it's get progressively more lenient, right? Shabbos the original water, yontif add water, chalamoid change the water. Okay. Cotton hayadel in aneya, a cotton that knows how to go ahead and wave, chayiv b'lulav. It's chayiv and lulav. So there's 2 dinim in the Mishnah, right? The first din about returning the water, and the second din is the din of a cotton hayadel in aneya is chayiv and lulav. Now, we just had above 2 lines from the top. Ha midag bay, nafik bay. As soon as you picked it up, you yaitza. Why does it say by cotton that he has to know what linaneya? He just has to know to pick it up. We went through the nanuyim, right? To stuff up the winds, to go ahead to be a towel. We discussed all this, right? Is it mitzvah deraisa? Pashas not. Pashas not mitzvah deraisa. So why over here is it necessary to go ahead that he has to know how to shake the lulav if the mitzvah is just to lekachtem to pick up the lulav? It's a valid question. Okay, so I saw 2 beautiful pshatim. One a chiddush nifla, and one derech. It makes a lot of sense. Some sefer says a beautiful teretz, but it's a bit of a chiddush. What's the share of atasim and aravis? You all know it's 3 tfachim. What's the share of a lulav? 4 tfachim. 4 tfachim, right? Why? Kidei l'naneya. That was the lashon of the Mishnah. Mechadish to some sefer. Then in fact, the halacha Moshe Sinai is that you have to be menaneya the lulav. That and where do you know that from? That extra tefach they lenaneya and the law. So he holds the raisa. He holds the raisa. So therefore over here it says lenaneya. I see you have a kasha. It said before you pick it up, it's right. So he says that you have to be roy to pick it up. In other words, you have to be roy lenaneya. Picking it up is in other words, to pick it up, royal in aneya. That's how he learns. It's a big chiddush to say that most people holding anuyim are not the raisa. Some say it was the raisa. The Rabbeinu Menoyach, Pirush in the Rambam, says a beautiful pshat. Listen to what he says, guys. When you go ahead and you're going to teach a kid, right? You teach him to pick up the lulav, or you're going to teach him to do the mitzvah. What's the purpose? To teach him what to do, right? What do? You pick it up, Yeah. You shake? Yeah. He has to know from beginning to end. If you teach him just to pick it up halfway, talk about chinuch, that's bad chinuch. That's bad chinuch. You're teaching him the wrong thing. Because it knows he has to know to be able to go the whole 9 yards. It's not enough to stop to pick it up. He has to know to go all the way. There was a famous Maisa. It was a Shaili Esther of Yankov Kamenetsky, Zechat Tzaddik Kodesh Livracha. It was a school for kids. Could they put the mezuzah below to make the kids to kiss the mezuzah? And what did Yaakov say? Absolutely not. That's why it's bad chinuch. It's bad chinuch. Can teach him that what? Right? So in other words, good to kiss the mezuzah is a nice minig, right? But again, the mitzvah is it's got to be 2/3, a third from the top, right? So it's the exact same thing over here. Well, you go ahead, teach a kid, pick it up, but come in, he's got to be able to know, you got to teach the whole Indian here is chinuch. It's chinuch, you got to teach him the right way. So male is kadein la'neil. That's a geschmack of pshat. It's a nice pshat. Now, says Gemara Pshita. It's pashut that a woman could go ahead and be makabel, biad minah, biad baila. What's the chiddush over here? Pshita. So ma'adutei mahoyel v'isha lav bas chiyuv. I would think a woman is not a bas chiyuv. Guys, that women shake esrog is a minig. It's not a mitzvah. Emaloi to kabel. I might think it's muktzah for her. Guys, I might think it's muktzah. Again, what right does she have to go ahead and touch this? I would say it's muktzah for her, yeah? I would say it's muktzah. So therefore, I would think she cannot be makabel from her husband or her son. Kemash malon that what? Since regarding the husband and the son, that it's what? It's mutter, it's considered like a takshit. And therefore, what she's able to go ahead and touch it, right? I would think she's able. She therefore she could touch it. Kamashman keeping the royal in atilas anashim Torah's kliyalav, not taksha. Torah's kli as a din of a kli umuta betilta lakula everyone can carry. So that's the chiddush in the Mishnah. That once it's not muktzah regarding one person, it's not muktzah regarding everybody. Like,
anything else
that's unique to a man. Now, so we go through the whole Indian of chinuch. Now, Pasha guys, I once told you this. I told you this maybe more than once. It's tremendous. The chinuch we learn is a mitzvah. The kids should know what to do. That's the Pasha pshat. The Maritz Chias Mesech the Nazir in the it's Chav Gimel Chav Zayin. I'm dyslexic. It's one or the other. Says that the Indian of chinuch is, and this is what is that when the mitzvahs come, they shouldn't be chavilas. One load should not come down all at once. You get by mitzvah, you go from nothing. You know, the kid's been playing ball on Shabbos and everything, and like my kid told me the thing that turned him off the most. I told you, I took away the stumas, the Entenmann's donuts, right? The kiddush. He made him like wait. Yeah, you know, the whole thing came down all at once. It was. I'm telling you, don't make that mistake. So I'm saying that a couple of donuts will keep the kid off on the derech. It's a cheap price to pay. Anyway, so it's geschmack. So therefore. So there's, of course, chinuch is what to teach them how to do what to do, but there's a needed aspect like the Marischias, that aspect of what it shouldn't come down all at once. It's a load upon him. It's too much. By going ahead and breaking him slowly, therefore it makes it much more palatable. The Satev, he knows how to wrap himself up. Lishmar tefillin, he knows how to aviv like tefillin. His father buys some tefillin. Lidaber. He knows how to speak. Aviv learn the Torah, the Kriya Shema. Torah Maihi. Amavnuna Torah Tzivalon Moshe Marasha Kilas Yaakov. Kriya Shema. He pasuk Rishon. So be aware, guys. The Indian of chinuch of limud Torah is the Raisa. The Indian all Inyanim is a mitzvah of Shnat Levanecha. You should teach your sons. So that to do mitzvahs is the Rabbanon, but to teach your son Torah is the Raisa. To teach your son Torah is Vishnat Levanecha. That's the Raisa. It's a different level. Hayudei Lishmar Gufay. Person knows how to watch his guf, oichlin al gufay. Then you can go if he knows. There's two inyanim in shmira, and the Indian tumah v'tayra. To watch your body, that should be clean, and to watch your hands. Hands are much more difficult because there's a gezeri derabban on your hand. Yadayim mashniyos. That's why we wash our hands before we touch water and different things, right? So yadayim mashniyos. So therefore, to watch his body, oichlin al gufay, but not if he touched it with his hands. Al gufay tayras. Lishmeres Yadav, if he knows to the extent to watch his hands as well from Tumah, Eichal Yadav Tahiris. Okay. There's something, well, we don't know if something's Tameh or Tahar. Usually, to go ahead, and the easiest way to move virus suffix is to be Maimit something al Cheskasai. What was its status quo? What was the what status was it? What status was it? In other words, it's called being hemid davar al cheskasai, keeping something that's chazaka. So if something was in a cheskas taira, it remains b'cheskas taira until we know that it's a suffix. Until we know that it's tamei, because that's a cheskas taira. Hemid davar al cheskasai. However, there's a monkey wrench in all of this, and it's the saita. The isha saita was behind closed doors. Rishus hayachid, behind closed doors. Rishus hayachid. She's also to live with her husband until she drinks the main marim. What about hachazaka? State the halacha much mesina by saita that the suffix overrides what? The chazaka. Her cheskes taira has been nifkam and it's been blemished. And as a result, she has to drink the water. She can't live with her husband until she drinks the water. Right? Of course, again, that's the motion. The halacha much mesina says we don't go after the chazaka. The kina is right. You need it only is mekanaha. Right. Yeah. Okay. What? He had edus to what?
Two people.
That there was yichud. There was no edus to the bia. If there was edus to isamaisa, then she's not a saita. She's not a saita. She's an IFS. So in other words, it's still a suffix. Whether she did or not, it's a suffix, right? So, but the halacha Moshe Messina says that suffix tuma b'shus hayachid sveikai tamei. We learn that from saita. So in other words, we take that din from saita and we extend it to other avenues of sveika by tyrus as well. And that's what we get the din. Suffix tuma b'shus hayachid sveika is tamei. If the suffix arises in a b'shus hayachid, the suffix is tamei. And b'shus rabim, we keep it on the chazaka. Another din we learn from this is just like the isha is capable of answering whether she did or she didn't, so too it has to be the suffix whether you did or you didn't. If you walk into an alleyway in Rishus HaYachid and you see a dead rodent and you see Tyrus over there, there's no one to ask, then there's nothing to talk about. It has to be that there's something to ask, someone to ask. What happened? Good. So those are two components. One, Rishus HaYachid, and two, the ability to ask and answer. With that in mind, I give you a little hakdama for 2 lines of Gemara, but again, it's good that you do. So sometimes I give you hakdama like you read a lot of Gemara. So it's good. The main thing about Daf Yomi, guys, I know the Yitzhahara is going to tell you that you don't remember anything by doing it, right? That's all the Yitzhahara. But again, Yedias you could get that Gemara gets easier. Trust me, you learn, it gets easier. It gets easier. All the demons of your youth will be gone. I will exercise them. Might even look at Tosfos once in a while, Okay, anyway. Says the Gemara. Hayadeya lishol, if you're able to ask, B'shus hayachid sveikai tamei, B'shus harabim sveikai tahar. Good. That's what I just told you. Now, hayadeya lifreis kapav, if it's a small, it's a kayin, but he brought Rashi learned stay sarais. No, he's not a cotton. Like cholkin le truma beis agronis. Now, the truma guys, think about it. You got to be nisr and truma v'tayra truma. You can't be giving it to a kid, right? Truma, it's asa to be metama. Lishma yesh mishmati is a mitzvah. It's asa to go ahead and make truma tameh. There's a mitzvah shomer that you should watch it. So the beis agronis in the threshing floor where they would separate the truma. If you have a kid and you don't know yes or no whether he's capable of what of, okay, what's the barometer? Whether he can duchen. If he can duchen, then you can give it to him. Basic runners. If he can't duchen, then
no wheat for you.
These guys, the young whippersnappers in the back, they're on your case. I've been working on this stuff. It's 28 years I'm working on this already. He did duchen for me once. Be aware, he did one time. He did duchen one time. He did come one time, so we know he's a kain. Right? Oil yuchsen, right? The oil yuchs from the duchen. Okay, very geschmack. So now, anyway, so hayudei lifres kappa chotnuli truma beis agronis. But if it's not, then it's a bizayin because you won't know if he keeps it or not. Amid days, hayudei lishchait. If the cotton knows how to shecht, we can eat from his shchita. Now, what does that mean? How do you know? Maybe good he knows how to shecht, but maybe he was over on some of the various halachas of shchita. Rashi brings two shehiyah, Shahia is what is delaying when you go ahead what in the blade. Very good. Hang on a second, right? Or drisa is where you press instead of cut. So right. So that's provided you have someone watching him to make sure that what. In other words, the cotton can physically do it, and you can use some shechita provided you have someone who knows that he did it halachically correct. Okay. If he's able to eat a kazayas dagon, then marchikin mitzay asay. The halacha is regarding kriya shema and regarding davening that you have to distance yourself from excrement and urine before amis. That's only if it has a certain noxious odor. That noxious odor comes about as a result of eating one of the 5 grains. However, a gadol it's irrelevant, but for a cotton, it's only if he eats the 5 grains. So therefore, if he knows how to eat a kazayas dagon, then his soya would have a loch of soya that you'd have to distance yourself. Right.
Baby soya is
Again, that usually it's right.
You feed the kid.
But yeah, well, again, most if they're breastfeeding, usually not. If other stuff wants to get to the vita, nusi vita. Amrav Chista, provided he can eat it in kedei achilas pras, which is gesher of achila. Again, that's a half a loaf of bread and a chita of leiseret. Amrav Chia, who remembers where we learned it from, guys? Remember where did we learn it from? I'll give you a hint. It has what? Chita soyer, right? That pasuk, right? What does chita teach us? You have 5 seconds, 4 seconds, 3 seconds, 2 seconds, 1 second. Beis Hamanuga. You learn from the house of Ad of Mitzayra that if you walk in there and you wait to share that it takes to eat, then your clothing is tamei. Like okay, anyway, that I didn't check twice. Amar Chia Bered Rav Yevav ubegadol afapi shein yochel lechol b'chtei achilas pras. A gadol, even if you can't eat achilas pras, his soy will be tzayid d'chsiv. But Yosef das, once you get das, Yosef machlev. It increases machlev over here. It means smelly, swicha, smelly things. Yochel lechol kazayis. If the cotton's able to eat kazayis tzli, sheikhel levus a pesach, he can go ahead and be part of the carbon pesach. Sheikhel levus a pesach. Remember, ish lefi achle. A man according to what? According to his what he can eat, he can be counted in. Rabbi Yehuda says no, he has to be able to go ahead and decide. He says it's not enough to eat. He has to know the difference whether between food and non-food. And Ketzad, nice and light swar. If you give him a rack, the circle, throw it away. Egois, you give him a nut, the night lion will take it. So Hajjan Lachul of Agazel, wonderful parak. Hajjan Lachul of Agazel, Hajjan Lulav Ha Agazel. It's a special parak. Okay, Baruch Hashem. You know, it's an important parak. You want to chazor a parak, guys? It's 13 blot. It's a 12 blot. It's kedai. It's a good parak to know. It's really packed full of stuff, and it's really good. Okay, various halachas. Sukkos is so many mitzvahs that transpired on Sukkos. We're familiar, of course, with the Sukkah. We're familiar with the Daled Minim. We're also familiar with the Simchas Beis HaShoeva. We're not so familiar with the Nisach Hamayim, and we're also not as familiar with the halacha mashbisinai of the ceremony of the Aravos, which we're going to see. Says the Mishnah, Lulav Arava, Lulav, the mitzvah of Daled Minim. Arava here does not mean the Arava of the Daled Minim. It means standing. They would stick up on top of Mizbech huge Aravos. Really, they'd stand them up for sometimes 6 days, sometimes 7 days. Shisha, sometimes 6. The Shiva, sometimes 7. And we'll see that with the Gemara. The Mishnah will be self-explanatory. Hahalel, the mitzvah of saying Halel. V'hasimcha, the mitzvah of eating karbanos, bringing karbanos to basa shlamim. Right? That is Shmoina. That is what? That is 8 days. That's all 8 days. So the Halel and Simcha is 8 days, meaning the 7 days Sukkot and Shmini Atzeres. Sukkah, the mitzvah of Sukkah, V'nisa Chamayim, and the pouring of the water is Shiva. That is always going to be for 7 days. That's going to be for 7 days. HaChalil, the Chalil is the flute that they would play during the Simchas Beis HaShoeva, which was done during the being shayiv the water for the Nisa Chamayim. Chamisha, sometimes 5, Vishisha, and sometimes 6. Okay, that's the topic sentence. And now the Mishnah proceeds to explain exactly what they just said. So what did we say earlier? Lulav Shiva, Ketzad. What's the din of Lulav of 7 days? Ketzad. Yontav Havishan Shel Chag Shechal Yes B'Shabbos. If the first days of Sukkot falls out on Shabbos, Lulav Shiva, then the Lulav is going to be 7 days. Again, Pashtus was speaking about in the time of the Beis Hamikdash. So you would do on the first day of Sukkot, you would do it. You would do it even on Shabbos, even on Shabbos, right? Even on Shabbos, the first day. We don't do that, of course, anymore because we're worried that you're going to maybe carry 4 Amos, which is a Rabbim, to be into a Baki. But the first day, there's nothing wrong with doing the mitzvah of Lulav, fellas. It's not muktzah. It's not muktzah. There's nothing wrong, right, guys? What's wrong with doing the mitzvah? Okay, the only thing that the problem you'd have is maybe you might come to carry it, correct? Shofar, there's nothing wrong with the shofar. Well, it might be chachma or Megillah, Kriyas Megillah. We don't do it on Shabbos. I'm saying, so these are Shema Yavri Renu Ava Amis, right? So we're going to get to that. But Bez Hashem, but if the first day falls out, they didn't make the Gisera, so with 7 days, you would go ahead the first day and all the other days. The Shar Kol Yom, if the first day of Sukkot falls out on any other day, then Shisha. Then you wouldn't do it on Shabbos, right? You'd only do it on you skip Shabbos. Arava Shiva, Ketzad, what's the mitzvah Arava for 7 days? Yom HaShvi Shel Arava Shechal Yes B'Shabbos. The 7th day of the Arava, if it falls out on the 7th day on Shabbos, then Arava Shiva, Shar Kol Yom Shisha. Arava, guys, Arava is like this. We're going to see it in the Gemara, but I'll just give a little. Arava is all Allah Chamash Sinai. There's no, it's that we hack Aravis on Shana Rabbah. That's a minig we're going to see from the Nevi'im. It's from the earliest minhagim we have, but there's no source in the Torah.
Isn't that to be?
That's a zeicher at best, Nossi, but it's not the mitzvah. The mitzvah is sticking. This is the mitzvah that Raisa is sticking them up. So they can believe in it, right? So really, you should be on the first day, right? We want to go ahead and be mitzvah libis tzedaikim that we even do it on Shabbos. We should do it on the first day, but the first day it'll be nivla with the lulav that's on the first day. So we pick another, any other day is just any other day. So it's either the first day or the last day, which are outstanding, right? They both have kedusha to it. So therefore, if the 7th day falls on Shabbos, we would still do it, and then be 7 days. Any other time, let's say the Arav is on Shabbos on the 6th day, 5th day, 4th day, then we wouldn't do it. So therefore, it's either 7 or 6.
What you can do it if
They didn't do it. They didn't do it.
I thought they did all the right.
Halach Moshe Sinai. Halach Moshe is not it is the Raisa, but stating it. Right? Right? Yeah, it's not in the book, right? Lisa Chamayim is not in the book. We're going to see a Pelton Meretz Royim. They had a big problem. Okay. Yeah. Mitzvah Lulav Ketzad. The mitzvah of Lulav, how is it performed in the Beis Hamikdash? Guys, we're talking about in the Beis Hamikdash, right? And they did it in the Beis Hamikdash, Ketzad, how they do it. Yontav Rishon Shalis B'Shabbos, the first day of Shabbos. Molichinas Luveim Laharabayis. On Erev Shabbos, they would bring their lulavim to Harabayis. Chazonim Mekabel Mehem, and the Chazonim, these are not the people who gargle. These are people what? These are the Shamashim. They would go ahead and be Mekabel Mehem. The Soid Moisayel Gabi Yitztaba. If you might remember, the Harabayis, they were around the Harabayis, they were like bleachers. And they would go ahead and put them on these benches. They put all the lulavim there. And the Zakanim who couldn't make it up the Harabayis to that area to push and shove, they would put it in a chamber. And the Chazanim would teach the people Loimar. Guys, we saw early in the Masechta, Daf Lamed Zayin, that the Sukkah Shula, a lulav gezula is pasul al mitzvah babavera according to Taisus. Lulav you need mishalachem. A she'ul is no good either, right? So therefore, there's no way in the world you're finding your lulavim. You're talking about who knows, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands. How many people were there? So what would they do? You'd put it there, and anyone that picked it up gave it to you b'matana, so it's yours. The Chazanim would literally throw it to them. They would chap them. They would be hitting each other. They made a takana. He's Persian. Take it. So no more harabayas. No more. No. All right. No, but this is the lulav. The lulav. This is the lulav. Okay. We have 10. Yeah, we have 10.